So, a warm welcome to all. So, we finished in the last class the gingoids, its general characters and morphological features. Okay. Now, we are moving on to discuss the anatomical features of gingoids. You know, there are resemblances with the gingo with other angiosperms and also other gymnosperms. Okay. And while looking into this anatomy, first we can describe the anatomy of stem in gingo. Okay. The spur shoot and long shoot are the very important morphological feature of gingoids that we already studied. Clear? So, there are some differences between the anatomy of spur shoot and the long shoot. Though it is broadly divided into the important parts like epidermis, cortex and pith. Okay. Then pith, cortex and they are generally parenchymatous and they are vast, extensive and with peculiar resin ducts. Okay. And secondary xylem, that is well developed in the long shoot and it is less developed in the spur shoot. Okay. And both of these spur shoot and long shoot having vascular bundles, they are dissected or demarcated with the primary bundles that include xylem and phloem, and that is endark, conjoint and collateral. You know, this endark, conjoint and collateral bundles are characteristic feature of dicot stem. Clear? So, the same pattern is observed here. Presence of cambium is there and that epidermis, cortex, pith, then parenchymatous tissue and also resin canals. There are slight variation in the anatomy of dwarf shoot as well as long shoot. Long shoot having more secondary structures than the dwarf shoot. Clear? Okay. So, look in this picture. This is the secondary structure. See, these are the secondary xylem groups formed and this is the cortex. Cortex having sclerenchymatous cells also, stone cells also and resin duct also present. And this is the peridermal region after secondary growth. These white lines you can see, that is the medullary rays. See, this is the pith regions and primary xylem you can observe in these regions and this is a phloem region. So, the secondary thickening in gingo. Now, pith and cortex generally contain tannin cells, that is the blackened color structure, and the secondary growth is by cambium, the typical growth. It cut off secondary xylem towards inside and secondary phloem towards outside. And the wood is pycnoxylic. I already told you this is an important feature that it share with the coniferates. Pycnoxylic and uniform texture with the tracheids as you saw in the last slide. Okay. Then uniseriate medullary rays also present. Now, the typical feature of gymnosperms, while discussing in the general characters, we explained the features of piths. So, the piths are with the bars of sanium, that lunar shaped openings in the piths. And primary xylem is also the tracheids with a reticulate thickening and phloem with the sieve elements. You know, generally in gymnosperms companion cells are absent, that is also observed here. Then epidermis is replaced by periderm after secondary growth. Okay. So, almost all characters or almost all anatomical features of the stem is similar with the dicot stem. Endark, conjoint, collateral bundles, secondary growth by activity of cambium, medullary rays uniseriate. Then difference is the presence of the resin canals and also tannin cells and bars of sanio, the piths in the xylem. Then phloem with the sieve elements, companion cells are totally absent. Okay. Now look into the leaf anatomy. So, we already know the leaf is having bilobed structure and it is bipartite and it is having distinct reticulate venation and petiolate that you already studied. Looking into the leaf anatomy, you can see there is usually that parts like epidermis, the mesophyll and the vascular bundle region. There are two endark, collateral, conjoint, open vascular bundles. See, these are the two collateral, conjoint, open vascular bundle and ground tissue. This is the ground tissue. Ground tissue is parenchymatous, you can call it as mesophyll tissue. Then epidermis is thick walled. See, thick walled epidermis with stomata on the abaxial surface. That is on the lower surface there is stomata. Then mesophills of spur shoot having no palisade. Palisade is present in a columnar like cells just below the epidermis. In spur shoot that is absent. Then older leaves of long shoot also having the palisade. Older leaves of long shoot. Okay. So, you can see in this picture there is no differentiation into palisade and spongy. that is usually absent because in this character it resembles that of characters like that of stem in this cortical region, no palisade and spongy, but you can observe these palisade tissues in older roots of older stems, that is a long shoot. Okay. And in the case of spur shoot, the mesophyll having no palisade tissue. So, the center and this vascular bundle is covered with a bundle cap, size that is endodermis, pericycle, everything is present, and large mucilage duct, see 1, 2, 3, like mucilage ducts dispersed in the parenchymatous region. So, this is the feature of the leaf. See, this is the one small portion enlarged. You can see the mesophyll portion, all cells are uniform, no differentiated palisade and spongy, cuticle, mucilage canal and vascular bundle, and stomata on the abaxial surface. Clear? Then upper epidermis and lower epidermis. See, okay. Now, this is the structure of petiole, having somewhat a similar structure, is two vascular bundles and also the resin canals and epidermis also present. Sorry, this is the focused diagram of this leaf, and this is the petiole. See, petiole is also having same structure, two vascular bundles, but the differences in the petiole is the hypodermis. Hypodermis is thick, that is very important part here. That is few layered hypodermis, that is absent in the case of leaf, and mucilage ducts are also present, and tannin filled cells are also present. Okay. Then spiroraphides are distributed in the cortex. The raphides, you know that calcium oxalate crystals like structures are also distributed in the cortical region. Then petiole is supplied by vascular bundles. You know the leaf traces. So, from the stem, vascular bundle transferred to petiole, then petiole to leaf. So, that vascular bundle is present here. Okay. So, petiole is covered by layer of thickly cutinized epidermis, and also inner to epidermis you can see the hypodermis, that is 2 to 3 layered hypodermis. Then the cortical region filled with the tannin cells and also spiroraphides irregularly distributed in the cortex, and two vascular bundles. Clear? Okay. So, bundle sheath is also very important, like leaf, here also bundle sheath is present. Spiroraphides and mucilage canal, hypodermis and epidermis and cuticle. Okay. Then tannin cells is very, very important here. Then looking into the anatomy of root, you can see the structure is very, very similar to the angiosperm root, that is typical dicot root with exarch and diarch and radial. You know the arrangement of xylem, that is radial arrangement, xylem and phloem side by side, not in a single ring. Okay. And that is diarch, two xylem groups, two phloem groups. Exarch, metaxylem towards center, protoxylem towards periphery. Okay. Then secondary growth is earlier, very fast, and also having annual rings present in the root system. This is anatomy of root, you can see in the diagram. Here also in the cortical region mucilage canal present, and suberized sets of cortex. Cortex having suberized cells, that is usually with sclerenchymatous cells. Then tannin cells dispersed in the cortex along with the mucilage canal, and diarch, see one group, second group, that is one xylem group, second xylem group. Metaxylem at the center, protoxylem at the periphery, that is known as that exarch condition. Then phloem in between this, that is condition is diarch, that exarch and radial arrangement. Clear? Okay. Now, so we finished the anatomy of stem, leaf, petiole and root. Clear? Now we are moving on to the reproductive organs. So we already discussed that some similarities that it shows with other groups in the case of reproductive organs like catkin-like appearance, pendulous ovule, etc. So, the reproductive organ, it is dioecious, the plant is dioecious, means both male and female in separate plants, and this is the most primitive arrangements, and reproductive part is observed in the spur shoot, clear, or dwarf shoot in the axil of leaves. So, the dwarf shoot or spur shoot were only the reproductive organ, and it is the most primitive and dioecious in nature. And spur shoot having thick lamina, fleshy lamina with very thick fleshy and unlobed usually. We already discussed in the morphological part. Okay, in its axil the reproductive organ is born, and the axillary buds in the spur shoot develop into the reproductive organ. Axillary buds in the spur shoot develop into reproductive organ. Only the reproductive part present in the spur shoot. Clear? See, this is a picture showing the reproductive catkin-like micro, that is male strobilus, and this is the leaf nature, and this is developed from the axil of the leaf. Okay. See, this is the axil of the leaf. This is a long shoot, and this is the branch of dwarf shoot, and from its axil of leaf what is developed? The reproductive organs. This is very, very important. So, in its appearance you can see this is look like stamens or anthers. Clear? Then male strobilus. So, male strobilus is catkin like, we already discussed. Catkin is an inflorescence, that is pendulous drooping type of inflorescence. It is somewhat similar to that. That spur shoot bear dozen or pendulous male strobilus. In the last picture you see this, in this picture you can see clusters of many dozens of that male strobilus present in the spur shoot. The strobilus axis bear laterally arranged microsporophyll or sporangiophore. See, this is the axis. This is the axis. That axis bear on both sides laterally arranged the microsporangia. See, and sporangiophores. Sporangiophores are the stalk that bearing the sporangia, and usually its size is 2 to 3 millimeter, and end in a ridge or a hump and bear two pendulous microsporangia. Its diagram I will show you. So, usually it has an axis that end in sporangiophore, and sporangiophore having a hump at its apex, and that bear two pendulous microsporangia. Okay. The hump bears a large mucilage canal. That is also very, very important. So, that is very important. See this in this diagram you can see. This is that axis, and these are on both sides arranged is the micros, that is sporangiophores. Sporangiophores bear the sporangia. See, in this diagram you can see this is a two sporangia, and this is the hump. Clear? And hump bear mucilage canal. Development is eusporangiate, pollen bear exine and indent. See, I will show you how it is arranged. See, it is the axis. Okay. So, in the axis you can see the two microsporangia and having a hump here. Okay. So, this is the arrangement. Ridge or hump on end and bear two pendulous microsporangia. Sometimes this appear like this, and this is the basal structure. This is the actual hump, and on the hump it is arranged, and the apex also having sterile portion, and this having the mucilage canal. Okay. Now, see this diagram closely, you can observe that stamen like pattern. Then female strobilus. Female strobilus also born on the axil of spur shoot, and it is also a dozen or more, and like female flowers you can call it as. It is atropous, like orthotropous, anatropous, different types of ovules. Here it is atropous without micropyle or chalasalent or nothing like that. Stout peduncle, and peduncle is a stalk that terminated into two sessile ovules. There are two sessile ovules at the terminal portion. Ovules surrounded by a base called collar, and from the two ovule one abort and only one develop into seed. Okay. So, you can see the axis, or this is the peduncle or the axis, and peduncle branch into two atropous ovules like this, one here and one here, atropous ovule, and of this, and it is surrounded by a cushion like collar here, and one will abort. Okay, this will abort and only one will function. Okay, this is the nature of female strobilus. So, collar is very important, because here you can compare this collar with the bract or perianth of angiosperm flower. Clear? Okay, and pendulous, that ovule is usually two, with one is aborted and ovule is atropous. See, this is the picture, very simple. You can see in the dwarf shoot how it is arranged in the axil of leaves, clusters of female strobilus. See, this is the peduncle. It is the peduncle. See, this is the peduncle, and this is the one ovule, and this is the another ovule, and one is aborted and another one is functional. This is very simple case, two atropous ovule at the end of a stalk, stout stalk, that is known as peduncle. Clear? Okay. See, after mature it is like this. So, you can take a cross section of this, that is a section of ovule. You can see ovule is having micropyle, but not that much developed like our cycadales and coniferates, and it is vascular bundles at the base and having the abortive ovule at the base. This is a mature ovule, and inside a female gametophyte develop, that is nucellus, and having archegonia. Archegonia develop at this region like this, archegonia, and this is integument. Integument is not that much differentiated, integument is present, and nucellus at the center. This is female gametophyte, this is initial stage in nucellus, having a pollen chamber and a small micropyle is present. Okay, that is the atropous ovule with a nucellar beak and 2 ovules, of which one usually, this is the abortive one, you can see on the side, and other one become enlarged. Clear? This is a very important part of part usually asking for examination, that is arrangement of this female strobilus in Ginkgoales. Clear? Then ovule, I already told you, fused with the nucellus fused with ovule, inner fleshy, middle stony. Fleshy layers are parenchymatous with the tannin cells, the 2 walls. Mature ovule overtake the growth of collar at the base. Okay. Nucellus develop a pollen chamber and also a beak at the tip, and that after pollination it develops the beaks. Okay. Then 2 archegonia is present. So, nucellus present, integument present, and integument having fleshy layer and stony layer, and also large pollen chamber and 2 archegonia. So, that is the structure of the, you will have to study this. See, this is how this is arranged in the dwarf shoots of ginkgo plant. Okay. That close view, in that close view of ovule, see the base structure, this is the collar. Clear? This is the collar. Okay. Then this is the vascular stand and this is the abortive ovule. Abortive ovule, so only one ovule become enlarged. So, having outer fleshy layer, this is a fleshy layer, and this is dark colored one is a stony layer, and this is the inner fleshy layer. 3 integuments and female gametophyte. First it is having nucellus having an opening here, micropyle, and a pollen chamber here, and also 2 archegonia in the younger stage. Then after it become the female gametophyte, what happens is here it become the nutritive tissue is usually used for growth of the embryo here, and 2 archegonia develops. Okay. See. Then morphological nature of female flower. So, female flower is, I mean this while describing the structure, now you got a clear idea that it has some similarity with angiosperm flower. Okay. So, how this is interpreted? It is interpreted by various scientists like differently. So, according to Ballion, this is an axillary inflorescence. Okay. So, each ovule is like a flower with that, and the entire structure like an inflorescence. Each ovule is a flower and the entire structure is an inflorescence. Okay. Then integument is equal to 2 carpels according to Ballion. Then simple strobilus or axillary flower view by Sachs. According to Sachs, several lateral ovules without carpels, collar is a imperfectly developed iril. So, iril is an extra structure present in the fruits and seeds. So, this collar can be compared with iril according to the second view. And third view is ovuliferous scale view by Van Tighem. According to him, ovule bearing structure as ovuliferous scale of the conifer. So, ovule bearing lower peduncle and that structure collar is compared to, that is equivalent to ovuliferous scale of conifer. So, in the conifers you studied pinus. In the pinus you can see there are bract scale and ovuliferous scale. Ovuliferous scale bear the ovules. Just revise that portions you have studied in your UG classes. Okay. So, pinus having an ovuliferous scale. So, ovuliferous scale bears the ovule. So, here this is somewhat similar to that ovuliferous scale according to Van Tighem. Clear? So, you have to study the 3 morphological nature of female flower also. Okay. Now, here in Ginkgoales, pollination is by wind. During pollination, tip of the micropyle is usually produce a mucilage. So, in that pollen grain is deposited. Clear? Then affinities. This group shows affinity with the pteridosperms in the case of integument, nucellar beak, pollen chamber, collar, etc. And cycadales, chitoniales having the same structure. Okay. Cycadales with the motile sperms, I already told you, and mucilage duct. And coniferales with the shoot dimorphism, dwarf shoot and long shoot, pycnoxylic wood, bordered pits and medullary rays. So, now let us look into the economic importance. You see, this Ginkgo biloba is a tree usually worshipped by people, and also it is considered as a sacred plant. equivalent to God in China and Japan, worshipped by people. And it is therefore regarded as a holy tree by Buddhists, and because of its tall, strong, majestic appearance. And it is grown as an ornamental plant, I already told you, as an avenue tree in the parks and botanical gardens and etc. And the endosperm of the seed is roasted and that can be edible, and but it is not good for our health if it is taken in huge amount. Okay. Then after the outer skin of its apricot seed is peeled off, the kernel left is called white fruit. Jingo is also named white fruit tree. Okay. So the seeds is similar with the apricot seeds. So when you just peeled off the outer cover, you will get a white fruit. So it's also known as white fruit tree. Okay. Then another one is a myth, that is when a grandfather planted the jingo tree, so it will flower, it will fruit when his grandson grows up. So that's why it is known as grandfather-grandson tree. Clear? Then an extract of leaves is useful for the cerebral insufficiency and vertigo, that balance in ear, that problem. And the kernel, that inside seed part, is used as food in Chinese medicines, and also it can be taken as raw and used for curing asthma, and also medicinally, then aesthetically and also culturally significant, that is Ginkgo biloba. Clear? Okay. See, so many medicines are available in the world market from Ginkgo, and Ginkgo plant is also prepared for bonsai, like this you can see in the image bonsai, and Ginkgo cell, Ginkgo biloba medicine, Ginkgo leaf beverages, Inkeigo, Ginkgo biloba, different companies preparing different medicines for this, for various purposes. An essential, natural essential Ginkgo biloba extract and so on. So it can be available in the market by pills, capsules, syrup and so on. So it is a widely used plant usually in Japan and China, Siberia and so on. So in India now people are cultivating this, and people are trying to conserve these plants in the botanical gardens. So it's really a surprise when I visited the botanical garden of Delhi University and saw this Ginkgo biloba. Usually this in our class, early PG and all classes, we saw only in the textbooks the image. Okay. Now it is available for you to look into the images from the internet, live in YouTube and all. That time no such provisions. So I wondered when seeing this plant in the Delhi University campus. Okay. I hope you may also get such experiences to see Ginkgo live. Okay. So this is a Ginkgo plant. So that's all about the Ginkgoales, its characters, its anatomy, its reproductive part, etc. So phylogenetic significance and morphological view of flower are very, very important in the case of the order Ginkgoales. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed the class. So have a nice day. Thank you.